Welcome, I'm Ijoma Honyato. Tonight, chaos at Rerun Election Collation Center in Port Harcourt as security agents stormed venue to arrest party representatives. Channels Television's 21st anniversary celebration hits the climax as the station hosts guests at a gala in Lagos. President Buhari felicitates with Muslims on Eid al-Maulud, asks Nigerians to keep faith as his administration strives to make a difference in their lives. And US President-elect again denounces CIA report on alleged Russia's involvement in election hacking, says it's a conspiracy theory.
On Business News tonight, the Minister of State for Petroleum, Dr. Ibe Kachuku, says a tax on oil facilities has been affecting investment into Nigeria's oil and gas sector. On Sports News tonight, Leicester City's Riyad Mahrez beats Yaya Toure and Sadio Mane to win BBC African Player of the Year.
And from Abuja, I'm Ibrahim Adra. Pensioners Union demand probe of Nigeria's pension administration to check fraud in the system.
We begin in Rivers State, where the outcome of Saturday's rerun legislative elections is still generating controversy. Security agents today stormed the venue of the collation of results in the senatorial election in Port Harcourt and arrested some party representatives. While the state governor, Nyesom Wike, has condemned the action, warning of the consequences, the police says they are not involved in the disruption of the collation process.
The expectations continue as agents and voters await the outcome of the Rivers rerun elections. It is almost 48 hours since the conduct of the elections. Some results are coming in, and in some other parts of the state like Eche, the exercise will have to be reconducted. But for the results that have come in, collation centers are busy with putting the figures together. Here, at the Port Harcourt City Hall, a rather ugly scenario plays out. Men in police uniform bearing arms had invaded the center.
Let them bring in more security personnel. I'm not ready. What did he say?
After the dust had settled, the governor Nyesom Wike calls at the collation center. His mission, he says, is to douse the situation, but comes hard on the police.
I do not understand whether people understand what it means to be a security personnel, a security officer at the rank of the Commissioner of Police. I have no respect for him. I have no respect. They've killed the Nigerian police. We don't have anything to call Nigerian police any longer. But we thank God, we have declared Senator George Thompson Sakebo as the winner of the Rivers East Senatorial District. They've declared, thank God, Lagacynews Idozo as the winner of the Rivers West. Ordinarily, PDP ought to take the 3 seats, but because of the involvement of the military and the police officers, they did everything by even shooting our party agents, chasing them away, cutting away with the materials, and have decided to do what they have done. So, for us, this portends a lot of danger to our democracy. I don't think that there will be election in 2019.
The police says the men seen disrupting the collation exercise are not their men, and that the Inspector General of Police is investigating the matter.
The comparative analysis and for the gains of Ondo and the elections, we have a huge success. What I'm seeing on the video, you can see those people are not in any uniform, they don't wear any tags. And I'm happy you have a clip of it. We shall investigate because as far as I'm concerned, they are not our men.
The APC is not quiet on the ongoing.
Well, the Rivers East, we acknowledge that some announcement has been made perhaps in error because we still have elections in many places not yet concluded. And if the votes, the outstanding votes, by far exceeds the votes with which the person who has been declared victorious is beating the runner-up, then something is wrong. It means that those number of votes, those quantum of votes, can alter the calculation. And so I don't think that declaration was done that was done is in order.
We now know those who will represent Rivers State at the Senate, but in some part of HA, results are still yet to be determined. INEC says it will go back to the field to conduct elections in that area on Wednesday. Seun Okinbaloye, Channels Television News.
Now, to discuss the conduct of the Rivers Rerun, I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by the convener of the Election Situation Room, Mr. Clement Wankwo. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10 from Abuja.
Thank you.
Again, we see a process marred by violence. And before we get into it, what do you think, what's your assessment of what you saw happening today?
Well, before today, the Civil Society Situation Room had issued a statement on the situation in the Rivers State. We were worried about the conditions prevalent before the elections. On election day, we did have people on the field who reported very sad incidents. The rhetoric of the politicians, the logistics failures on the part of INEC on election day, and all of the activities surrounding the elections, including the activities of security agencies, is a sad reflection on Nigeria's electoral system. And I really, and my colleagues in the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room, are very disappointed with what happened in Rivers State. It was certainly not the way an election should be conducted. The political parties, INEC, the security agencies did not discharge their responsibilities the way that they should have.
Yeah, I mean, in that particular video that we saw with the disruption at that center, the police have come out to say that those were not their men. What do you have to say about that?
I think clearly the police has questions to answer. I think that this takes us back to dark days. Certainly when armed people, armed personnel wearing police uniform are going about the state, going around election venues unrestrained, captured on video, and we see the police coming and making statements that these are not our men. There's a lot of questions to be answered by the police about this particular video, and indeed several other reports across the state that was filed by observers about the conduct of security personnel. The conduct was very damning, completely unacceptable. It reminds us of some of the cases that are being investigated or indeed prosecuted by the present government in the elections that was held when they were in the opposition. Certainly, this is not the way elections should be conducted. I just came back from Ghana, observing the elections in Ghana, and they put us to shame by the smooth flow of the electoral process in that country. Several of what they were doing, the process was taken from Nigeria, simplified, and made very efficient and effective. There were no policemen going around polling units. There were no soldiers mounting roadblocks. People were going about their daily activities, getting off work, going to vote, coming back to work. What happened in Rivers is sad for us as a country and sad on Nigeria's elections.
All right, I took a look at your report, and let me just read out a part of it in the report that you released. And you said the violent disruption of voting and collation in areas observed means that these polls will not be accepted locally as credible. Do you still stand by that?
It is our statement. We stand by it. What happened in Rivers was not a credible election. It is a sad pointer. If we were to continue along this path towards 2019, I really worry where we are headed. But certainly, we need to take cognizance of what has happened. INEC needs to investigate what happened in Rivers State, including the activities and conduct of its personnel. The Inspector General of Police and the various arms of security services need to investigate how their men conducted themselves in Rivers State. It is certainly unacceptable. This is not the way democracy survives in the country. We need to build on what we did in the 2015 general elections, and it looks like what happened in Rivers takes us miles and years back, and this is not the way democracy can survive.
And speaking on the role of INEC, we did speak with the INEC National Commissioner some hours ago, and she did confirm that there were some lapses on the part of INEC officials themselves, not just in terms of their conduct, but also the difficulty they had, getting materials to the sites. We keep hearing that. How do you think we can come out of this kind of thing all the time?
Well, certainly INEC had its challenges, but we think they could have done better. They did have challenges moving materials around, but when we had voters, when we had observers going around, in a lot of instances, polling units did not open on time, materials were not delivered. In some cases, polling units opened as late as 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Certainly, if INEC saw that it could not organize a credible elections, it should have put the process to a hold.
We also had a statement from the Clean Foundation, just to find out from you if that's what you observed as well, since you were on the ground there and you had your men there. And they've said that security agencies were observed openly aiding a particular political party, and they're calling for a review of their role. Is that what you observed as well?
Well, that is INEC. The Clean Foundation is a part of the Situation Room, has been part of this process, has the best understanding of the role of security personnel in elections. Their report is credible, and we believe that they have issued a report that is in tandem with the report of several other of the observer groups, including the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room.
All right, finally now, let me just ask you, by law, arm-bearing policemen are not allowed to approach the polling unit. That isn't the case that we have. What can we do to do things differently next time? Because obviously they're returning to Eche, we hear maybe on Wednesday.
Well, beyond Eche and looking forward to elections, there has to be a special unit of the police that understands the rules of election conduct by police personnel. The laws are very clear. Only unarmed personnel of the police should be at polling units, just to ensure that voters orderly conduct themselves and orderly come out to vote. Beyond that, they should not be seen anywhere near polling vicinity, and the Inspector General of Police needs to investigate what has happened in this case in order that we do not even begin to think that this was a systemic action on the part of the police to subvert the electoral process. People must be brought to account. Those who participated in interfering in the election process in Rivers State must be brought to account. Okay. The security personnel, INEC, as well as every other stakeholder in the electoral process who helped to give a bad name to elections in Rivers State should be brought to account.
The convener, Election Situation Room, Mr. Clement Wankwo, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us on the news at 10 tonight. Let's take a break from looking at politics. It's Eid al-Maulud, and Muslims all over the world are observing the day. Eid al-Maulud is the observance of the birthday of Prophet Muhammad, the 12th day of Rabiul Awwal, and the 3rd month in the Islamic calendar. Muhammad is believed to be the last prophet. Here in Nigeria, a public holiday has been declared to mark the day, as Muslims are asked to use the occasion to imbibe and promote the virtues of peace, unity and love, as exemplified by the Prophet Muhammad. And the President has conveyed a goodwill message to Nigerians, describing the occasion as a period of celebration and deep reflection. He asks Nigerians to use this time to reflect on the current challenges of the nation, asking them not to lose faith in the ability of his administration to make a difference in the lives of the people. He says, quote, "The reality of the temporary challenges should not undermine our hope, reverse our collective will to succeed, or divide us. Rather, it should remind us of why we need to stay together, fight together, and succeed together. We all share a vision of a better Nigeria, and we will all share in the responsibility of building the country of our dreams." End of quote. He also mentions the 2017 budget proposals, which he will lay before the National Assembly on Wednesday to contain measures that will improve the economy. In part 2, after the break, Minister of Works, Power and Housing inspects works on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, promises early completion of the project. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.